Podcast with Tek and Prem.
Attention, air traffic control. This flock of eagles is heading to New Orleans.
I don't play the game for stats. I don't play the game for numbers, any statistical approval from anyone else. And I understand that everyone has a preconceived notion on how they want it to look or how they expect it to look. And I told you guys that winning and success is defined by that particular individual, and it's all relative to the person. And what I define it as is winning. And so the number one goal is always to come out here and win.
Play the song!
Fly, Eagles, fly, on the road to victory. Fly, Eagles, fly, score a touchdown, 1, 2, 3. Hit 'em low, hit 'em high, and watch our Eagles fly.
Watch it fly!
Fly, Eagles, fly, on the road to victory. E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles!
It's the Vet Alumni Podcast. I'm Tek. He's Prem. We're headed back to the Super Bowl.
NFC champions for the third time in the last 8 seasons. An NFC record in the last 25 years, 4 NFC titles.
How you like that?
The class of the conference for a quarter century, and they have to cap it off by beating the next GOAT. They already beat the second GOAT, you go Montana, Brady, Mahomes. They beat the second GOAT, Brady. Now they beat the third GOAT this coming February 9th in New Orleans, Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, and let's not just skim over the fact that this Commanders beatdown was of epic proportions.
A record amount of points in a conference title
Yes,
game since 1970.
They put up BG points, 55.
Wow. That's also the amount of points they've allowed all postseason. 55.
That's tremendous.
Yes, sir.
Saquon did Saquon things. The defense forced game-changing turnovers. And we are here this week on this show. This is Jalen Hurts week. He had one of the best games as a pro.
Well-deserved.
This was one of his best games. Yeah, I mean.
Not since the 1940 Chicago Bears, who won the NFL title 73-0. Have you seen a team with 7 rushing TDs in one game?
That is
1940.
That is
Tek.
outrageous.
That's like during World War II.
I think 5 was the record in a conference title game.
I think you're right, yeah.
And Will Shipley gave that extra
Will
7th one.
Shipley, man. Hey, we were excited when he got drafted.
Yes, I didn't know what we were going to get, but I like this kid.
Me too.
I liked him. I liked that he was gone, but he put he put a premium on holding on to the football, and it slowed him down.
It slowed him down a little bit, yeah. I heard someone on the radio say he's
it.
got to work on his endurance. It gave me a little chuckle.
Yeah. Well, he was worried he didn't want to lose the football, which I respect that.
Of course.
Plus, the game was over by then.
It was.
We're going to New Orleans. This is a tremendous thing here. It's not just that they're going to the Super Bowl. I kind of always thought since we beat Baltimore that we were going to the Super Bowl.
That was the game. Well, honestly, I'll go back further than that. When they basically completely subdued Joe Burrow in the second half in his own building, that's when I said to myself, okay, maybe this defense actually is what we thought they could be with all these blue chip guys. Because they're stacked, top to bottom, with blue chip players, Heisman winners, Heisman runner-ups, national champion runner-ups, across the board on both sides of the ball.
You're right.
And when you have a pedigree like that, it's different than guys that played at smaller schools that are quarterbacks, that never really won at the collegiate level. That makes a difference, and Jalen spoke to it. Winning is it.
That's it.
That's it.
And speaking of Jalen, since this is Jalen week on the show, we'll get into the matchups with everybody on the KC side of the ball and everything. We'll get into that next week.
Yeah, game week. That's a game week thing.
It's just too much going on social media and just in the media period, on FS1, on ESPN.
Oh, it's disgusting.
Everywhere.
No, I can't even watch it. I don't even watch it.
I watch some of it just to watch it, and like guys like Nick Wright.
It gets me too fired up, dude.
But RG3 posted some stats that I thought were fascinating
about
Jalen.
I know.
First Eagles quarterback to reach 2 Super Bowls. I love that one.
And that's remarkable when you think about Randall, Donovan, you could even say Carson, even though he only had, 4 seasons starting. I mean, he had some good teams. Nick Foles, he had a couple starting seasons where he had 7 touchdowns in one season in 2013 in one game.
Yep.
That's a feat in itself.
It is. 5th quarterback ever to reach 2 Super Bowls before turning 27.
Yeah, you're going Brady, Mahomes,
Like Roethlisberger's
Ben,
in there.
and Russell Wilson, and that's it.
Yeah,
Not
wow.
Joe Montana.
Oh, you're right.
Not
right.
John Elway. Although John Elway was pretty young. He went in 87, 88, got destroyed in both of those Super Bowls, and then it took him a decade to get back.
Right.
Even Jim Kelly was older than that when he got to his second one. It's really impressive what he's been able to accomplish. And he's only 26, this kid.
That's right. 206 consecutive passes without an interception in the postseason. That's the second longest streak in NFL history behind Drew Brees.
Do you know what the number is?
For Drew Brees?
Yeah, do you know what it is?
I don't know.
I wonder if he has a chance to break that. That
would be outrageous.
It'd be like icing on the cake because
would
Saquon is going to break the all-time record for most rushing yards in regular and postseason.
I mean, he would have to.
He'll do it in the first quarter.
Yeah,
30-something yards.
Oh, he's
away.
30 yards.
Something
Okay,
in
yeah,
that
yeah.
realm, yeah.
Yeah, he'll break that.
He's going to be the first running back
half
to
of that,
eclipse
that's-
2,500 in a season combined.
That's outrageous. NFL record 7 straight postseason games for Jalen Hurts.
Wow.
I mean, that's
Wow.
just without. Oh no. Let me finish that. Without an interception.
Right,
with
right.
at
I
least
knew where
20
you.
passes.
Yeah, right. I saw that too.
That's amazing.
It is because you're playing the best defenses that are left in football.
Yeah.
You're playing in way more high pressure scenarios where some guys, and we've seen it, some guys when the lights are brighter and the stakes are higher, they fold.
Yes.
They do it. And we've seen some of the greatest quarterbacks. Look, Dan Marino.
That's right.
He could never get it done when the
No.
lights were brightest.
Not sure why. He was
Look,
so great.
Who's another good example of
Lamar
that?
Jackson. How about Lamar Jackson, which we'll get to in a second?
I'll even go back further. Fran Tarkenton.
Yeah.
Phenomenal
Yeah.
quarterback. Took the Vikings to multiple Super Bowls, but when the lights were brightest, couldn't get it done.
Couldn't get it done.
There's another
You
one,
mentioned
too.
Jim Kelly, too.
Dan
by the way.
Fouts,
Dan
Chargers.
Fouts, yeah.
Phenomenal quarterback. Also
Yeah.
mobile. One of the first mobile quarterbacks that set that standard. Couldn't
Yes.
get it done. The
Yeah.
lights were brightest. They had Hall of Fame careers.
It's something.
It is
something.
because it's an intangible thing. And when
You're
Jalen
right.
got drafted, we said this. This kid has something different.
Yes, he does.
We both said he has something different. It's like an intangible energy and aura, and you bring that to the field where you know in these high pressure moments you're better than anybody else that's
Yeah.
in front of you. And that's a way of living. It's a way of thinking, and it's a universal quality. And Jalen seems to have that, and I think he's going to put that on display for the entire world to see on February 9th.
Yeah. Most postseason rushing touchdowns for a quarterback. 9th most postseason rushing touchdowns for all positions.
Period. This guy's going to retire number
Top
one.
10.
He's going to retire number one on that list for rushing touchdowns because he's
Yeah.
26, and guess what? A lot of these defenders we got are on rookie deals.
You're right. You're right.
I mean, we could be looking, if they get this chip here, we could be looking at the beginning of a team that's going to be in the conversation,
listen,
the Final Four
they
conversation
could
every
be
year.
losing. They could be losing some guys, but I don't want to get into that yet.
I hear you. That's
weeks to come.
That's a March discussion.
Yes.
All right.
Because they are going to get. They're going
Yeah.
to lose some guys, or Howie's going to have to make some big decisions.
Zach Bond is a key one.
Well, you start with Zach Bourne and you
Yeah.
work your way down to some of the other guys. Second highest postseason passer rating in a single playoff run in Eagles franchise history, 105.0.
Behind only Nick Foles. I'm pretty sure Nick Foles is number one on that. I'm pretty sure. It could be Steve Young when they destroyed the Chargers in that Super Bowl back in '96.
Yeah.
That Steve Young
Could be.
season. Yeah, I mean, look, Jalen was the 5th highest rated passer in the regular season.
In franchise history, I'm trying to think, who would that be? Passer rating, postseason.
Well, that's Nick Foles, yeah.
It has to be Nick Foles.
It's Nick Foles because you only won postseason, but no, 2 because
Well, Donovan McNabb.
he did quarterback the Birds when they lost in the 2013 playoffs in New Orleans. That was the big Reggie Bush hit from Sheldon Brown.
Yeah.
Nick Foles was that quarterback.
Oh. And of course, the highest winning percentage in franchise history with a minimum of 50 starts. Now that's
Wow. Yeah, well, he's 5-3 now in the postseason.
Yeah.
And, you're talking about a guy that is just getting started.
He is.
He's just getting started.
Saw something very interesting on FanDuel. They put it up. Jalen Hurts versus Lamar Jackson with the caption, "We need to have a discussion." Now, I know.
I saw the same graphic.
I know where people's heads are at. And I thought the same thing. Like, listen, Lamar Jackson is the better quarterback here. But I'm sure before I even looked at the numbers of the list that they had laid out, the comparison they had laid
Yeah.
out, I thought to myself, they're going to list some things that show Jalen in a favorable light. And, of course, they do. But these aren't just regular these are like critical comparisons that I didn't really think of.
And I'll say this just to reply to what you said initially, how you think Lamar's the better quarterback. He might be the better thrower, but is he the better decision maker?
Before
is
we
he
get
the better
into this,
decision maker at the line of scrimmage?
Here's what I would say. I agree with you, right? There's two things. And all right.
Jalen checks into these runs to go to the house. He checks into those.
I'm personally tired now, okay? Because I have been critical of Jalen Hurts, okay?
Yeah, you got some pretty raw tweets this year on him.
Yes, I have been critical of him because I saw positive things and then regression. And then positive things and then regression. And a lot of that, to be honest, wasn't all him, even though I don't know just how much him it was, because I don't know what he is or isn't comfortable with when you talk route trees and things like that. And sometimes when I wanted to see some more creativity from the play caller, maybe some of that is Jalen at the line of scrimmage not making the right decision.
Well, Jalen checked into the pitch.
He did, yes. No,
he can make all the throws.
This postseason, a lot of these big plays, he's actually checked into the right.
Exactly.
But I am personally tired of hearing about Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert. These guys, they're good quarterbacks, and I get it. By what you measure an elite quarterback by, the stats, the numbers, and things of that nature.
Right.
Yes, okay, they are the elite guys. But there are two things for me that I just can't get out of my head. And that is, one, the clutch gene. Those guys don't have it.
Jalen has it top to bottom.
And two, winning.
Period.
Which those guys don't have it.
No.
And the argument, which is ridiculous, and I saw this somewhere too, which I laughed because I thought that. I thought it. And then when that someone said, oh, but the Eagles, you put the Eagles in the AFC, and that's a totally different ballgame.
Which is hilarious.
They're 14-1 against the AFC
since
with
2022, since after his first year starting.
Yes.
Crazy.
And
he beat all those teams. KC, Baltimore, Cincy, Buffalo. Beat them all.
He beat Burrow. He beat Lamar.
Beat them all.
He beat Allen.
He's
crazy. Beaten Mahomes.
I know.
He's beaten these guys.
It's revisionist history because you know what it is, Tech? A lot of these national guys, they have now what appear to be, which are such cold takes on Jalen from preseason. That they have to try their best to revise it. And
the Nick Wright guy. Nick Wright, by the way, this guy is wrong. He said so many wrong things.
I don't know how these guys were on television. He
like,
picked the Packers to beat us. He picked the Rams to beat us. He picked the Commanders to beat us.
And Chris Broussard, I'm like, yo, how many times are we going to listen to an NBA guy talk football in the morning? I mean, are we kidding with this?
Yeah, I don't even really give it time of day now because
Stephen A's different. Stephen A can cover all sports, but Chris Broussard is not Stephen A. You know what I mean?
No,
that's ridiculous.
It's egregious at this point. All Jalen does is win games, and one thing that none of these guys talk about, which is especially surprising for the former players, Tech, is when you have a quarterback like Jalen who is not the traditional elite type like you said.
Right.
When you have that and you have the running back now like Saquon, the reason why Saquon went for 2K is
the threat of
is because Jalen is the quarterback.
Yes.
It might have been 1,500 if they had a
Matt
Joe
Stafford.
Burrow or Stafford.
Yeah.
Saquon probably still runs for 1,500.
You're right.
But 500, those record-breaking type yards that he got were because Jalen Hurts is the quarterback.
You're absolutely
and that's
right
just
about
X's
that.
and O's. That's just simple. Get the chalkboard, draw the X's and O's. This guy's going to go here. This guy's going to go there. And these holes are going to be bigger and more prevalent.
Yes. So now, obviously, if we broke out all the QB stats of Jalen Hurts versus Lamar, Lamar is ahead of Jalen in so many different stats, but these are pretty big ones. So check this. Hurts, 46 wins. Lamar, 45 wins.
Right.
Hurts, 190.5 passing yards per game. Lamar, 174.4 passing yards per game. Hurts, 140 total touchdowns. Lamar, 125 total touchdowns. Hurts and Lamar both 2 Pro Bowls. Hurts 2 conference titles.
He's got hardware.
Lamar 0.
Jalen Hurts, he doesn't have the ring per se yet, but he has 2 rings.
The guy he wins, okay? And look, people say he outplayed Mahomes in that game. Yeah, but he also fumbled that game away. He's not going to do that.
And the special teams was horrible.
And the defense. The defense was as bad as it gets.
It wasn't even anything close to what we
No,
had now.
first of all, you look at that defensive line. Hargrave was
An aging Fletcher Cox.
Fletcher Cox wasn't that great. Hargrave was downright pathetic. He was disgraceful in that
Horrible.
second half.
But you had the Sod situation, though.
Yeah, the Sod
This
father.
is on an
I think
indoor
he's
track.
retired. I think he's retired.
Yeah, but this is on an indoor track, and this is at a dome that in the collegiate ranks, a lot of SEC big games are played at this dome. And we have a lot of SEC guys that played in big bowl games.
Yeah, you're
I'm
right.
willing to bet, I didn't check this out specifically, I'm willing to bet 30% of this Eagles rosters as starters played big collegiate games at this dome. They're going to be comfortable in this environment.
Probably right about that.
They are built to win this game. They are built to win this game. The X factor is Mahomes with the late slides and the calls. It's the X factor here.
Yeah, I mean,
because
look,
one or two of those changes the entire game.
right. But, the officiating crew, we're 2-0 with them this year, I think. And I
What,
think
this
we're,
crew that's
yes,
doing it,
I think we're 5-3 all time with this crew.
Who's the head ref?
I
on this
forget,
one?
but
Okay.
I saw a stat that we're 2-0 this year with them and 5-3 lifetime with Hurts with them.
Well,
So,
Hurts just wins no matter who's the ref.
listen,
It seems like
you
because the
can't-
guy just wins football
and that's
games.
another thing I want to say as an Eagles fan, but I want to be objective about this too. I mean, I don't want that to be an excuse. I want to go out there, be ready, be prepared, and don't let the refs be an excuse.
Make it too big to rig, Tech.
Exactly.
Just like something else we recently saw that got this country back on track.
Don't get me started. Do not get me started. Let's skip politics altogether.
Professional propagandists.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Brandon Graham will be back. See, that's the big news, too.
Hey, that
That's big news.
that right hand has some pretty big Super Bowl value.
It does. He's a Super Bowl hero.
And you know what? His legs are fresh. I think that because, and we'll get into this with Haley, I think because he's been fresh and he's been out for a bit, I think Vic is going to be wise and just use him on like 25 key snaps.
I would.
Obvious passing
He's
downs.
a closer. He's the guy you bring in on a 3rd and 8,
yes,
3rd and 4.
I think you're only going to see BG.
And
I don't
by
think
the
you're going to
way-
see him on first down at all.
No, Brandon Graham's been out for a while, and in that time, we have seen Nolan Smith emerge. We have seen Jalix Hunt become a player.
Yeah,
So
making a postseason play.
I definitely think right now the defensive line is good.
This
gotta-
unit, this defense is scoring a defensive touchdown.
Jalen Carter's an absolute monster. He's a game changer.
Defensive score in this game.
Really?
Absolutely.
There it is. You just mentioned Haley. We're going to hit the vet line with Haley Taylor Simon. She returns to the show just in time.
Yes, sir.
Just
Perfect
in time.
timing. And we'll even talk a little Flyers, too.
Yeah. Oh, I know she's big on the Flyers. So
Big hockey girl.
We will definitely talk a little Fly, guys. But first, brought to you by the Fairless Hills Academy of Music, it's time for VetPhact.
This is a VetPhact.
Well, Tech, on January 31st of no year in American history,
So we do have.
has there ever been a game
We don't have.
at the Vet?
the vet years were so bad that they
Yeah.
just don't give us any.
And the problem is, at this time of year back then, this was usually Super Bowl week,
Right.
and those games are never played at home.
Right.
And they never played a Super Bowl at the Vet.
No, they never played.
So,
this.
we're going to be able, we usually take February off for Vet Facts because there's nothing that's ever happened in
I
February.
know.
There. So
I
we'll
know.
get back to Vet Facts in as far as the date goes in May. But what I'll do in February is I will pick fun, random dates at the Vet. Phil's dates, though.
All right, good.
Phil's are coming up.
Good.
We'll give you some in anticipation of spring training. All February will be Phillies fun Vet Facts from the 80s and 90s.
That, and we're done with the picks too until
We are.
until
You got.
baseball.
Hey, congratulations, Tech. You beat me by one pick.
Yes, that's
because we
right.
both know we're picking the Birds. So
yes,
you got me by one
you
pick.
picked Buffalo. I picked Kansas City because I knew it.
Proved to be the difference.
I knew
but
Josh
there
Allen
should
would get
be an
robbed of that
asterisk.
tush
There
push.
should be an asterisk on that one because the Bills fans are boycotting the Super Bowl.
Well, I bet they are.
You would be. We'd be too. We'd be doing the same thing.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I would be.
Disaster.
I'd be done
really,
with football.
That's really bad.
I
Because
know.
Dalton Kincaid had it on the previous play.
Right.
He clearly
Right.
had it on the previous play.
Every team in Philadelphia has posted a congratulatory message to the Eagles for their conference title and Super Bowl berth, except the Philadelphia 76ers.
A disgrace.
That's why I am boycotting this team. So they've won a few games, but because Josh Harris is the owner, I am on boycott. I do not care to talk about them or their wins, the last few wins that they've gotten. I could care less. They're still, eight games behind whoever. It's like a ridiculous amount. They're like 8 games out.
They're not even worth talking about.
No,
Yeah.
right.
People that want to say, "Oh, well, they just
They're
they just
8
won
games
some,
out of the 5 seed.
They beat some good teams recently." Yeah, well, they beat good
They beat
teams
Bronny James,
every year. They
for
beat
Christ's
good
sake.
teams in the regular season. The problem is, Joel Embiid was supposed to be traded last offseason because that's as high as his value is ever going to be. I
Yeah.
put it on our X account, and I know it was really the minority opinion then, but when you look at it now, how wise would it have been to just try to get a nice big haul for him
Yeah.
in the offseason?
It would have been the move.
They
Yeah.
would have.
They would have.
But hey, it's a dumpster fire. I'm personally going to be done with the Sixers, and it's a shame because I do like Tyrese Maxey as a person, and especially as an exciting player. But this team, even if they slip into the play-in game or whatever they do, they probably would actually lose in the first round, realistically.
Yeah, and we'll eventually be forced to cover them at some point in the coming months. But, right now I'm focused on the big game, and then it'll be pitchers and catchers a week after the Super Bowl.
Hey, how exciting will we be about spring training if we have another Lombardi Trophy here?
Right. Exactly.
Man.
And look, the Flyers, they may or may not make the playoffs. We'll see. We'll gauge. Haley covers them.
They're 3 points out.
Yeah, I mean, look, they may. They're a little kind of weird. They're up and down. They
And
win.
we'll ask
they
her
win
if that's a
bunch.
good thing or not. I mean,
I don't know where her head is at. We'll see. She's all things Flyers. We will figure that out. Let's go ahead and hit the vet line with Haley Taylor Simon next.
Vet Alumni. And now, it's the Vet Line.
Why don't you answer your phone?
joined now on the vet line by Haley Taylor Simon.
Yes.
Everyone knows who Haley is, especially in the hockey world. Haley, thanks for joining us.
Hello, glad to be back with you guys.
Yeah, it's great to have you, and what a exciting time in Philadelphia sports.
Oh, yeah.
The Birds are once again NFC champions, and in about 9-10 days, we will watch them take the field against the Dragon, the Kansas City Chiefs. Do they slay the Dragon? Yes or no?
I'm going to say yes. I feel it.
I agree.
I think, it's funny. With Kansas City all season, they've had these really close games against not so good teams like the Las Vegas Raiders, the Panthers.
Right.
And I believe that the Eagles have a much better roster than they did a couple seasons ago. I mean, you think about, just the players on the team that they have now versus then. You have guys like Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, and you have Saquon Barkley, which is the most notable name. So you have a much better talent roster. Now, do I think Patrick Mahomes is the better quarterback? Absolutely. But I think Jalen Hurts has the better weapons around him.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I took a look just yesterday at the 2023 game where we went to Arrowhead. It was the Super Bowl revenge game that it was billed. And they shut out the Chiefs at Arrowhead in the second half with what I consider an inferior defense. I know that the postseason and the regular season are completely different worlds, but they haven't looked too sharp, in my opinion, especially against the Texans, who could have won that game. What do you think the offensive approach against Spagnuolo should be for them to be successful on the offensive side?
That's a good question. I'm a big fan of Spags, but obviously not for these next couple of weeks.
Right.
I think the Eagles' best chance of being successful on the offensive side is to run the ball. I was watching the Chiefs and the Bills, and one thing about the Chiefs' defense is that they couldn't really keep up with Buffalo's run game. Now, Buffalo didn't have a great run game at all, but they got more yards doing so in crucial moments than they did passing the ball. So I think that run the ball, utilize Saquon Barkley, utilize Kenny Gainwell, utilize the guys that have that mobility. And even if that's Jalen Hurts running for a little bit, utilize that. But I also think again, A.J. Brown, he's like this weapon on the Eagles' offense that I feel like doesn't get talked about as much since Saquon Barkley's been here.
Mm-hmm.
But I would really try to utilize him. Even Dallas Goedert, you have Devontae Smith, you have so many weapons. But I would go more towards a run approach rather than just throwing the ball.
Yeah, and the Chiefs' defense, you're right. James Cook for the Bills actually had some really explosive runs.
He did, yeah.
And they were pretty effective. But like a lot of teams do, they tend to just go away from it after it's effective. We know the Birds do not do that. Looking at the defensive side, I think we match up great against their wideouts with our young lockdown corners. What do you expect to see from Vic Fangio then on the flip side, attacking Patrick Mahomes? You expect him to just try to rush 4 and play coverage, or do you expect him to throw some exotic looks in there too?
More type of coverage. It's funny you said corners, and I almost began singing the Cooper to Gene song. But I think that it's going to be man-to-man coverage against Patrick Mahomes in this Chiefs offense. I feel like that's the best chance. But again, Vic Fangio has seen the Chiefs many times prior to being here in Philadelphia, obviously. So I feel like he has a good idea. But I feel like once Patrick Mahomes gets out of the pocket, he kind of loses the magic a little bit. So I feel like just being on him, and again, you have guys like a Jordan Davis. I'm a big Jordan Davis fan that I believe is going to have a sack on Patrick Mahomes. I told all my buddies to bet on that already.
I like it. Jordan Davis, he broke free last week.
Yeah.
For a rare sack.
While I can say the Commanders are not as good as the Chiefs in any type of way, I feel like Jordan Davis is having his best season as a Philadelphia Eagle. So,
absolutely, yes.
And again, when you look at the Chiefs, and it's not trying to be, rude or critical, they did get to the Super Bowl, but they don't have the same talent that they did a couple seasons ago. And I don't believe that the Chiefs' offensive line is going to be able to stop the Eagles' defense from getting to Patrick Mahomes at least once in this game.
Yeah, they've been banged up all year too.
Yeah.
Line. They. I just think I look at this and barring turnovers, if the Birds play a clean game, like they have been.
Brandon Graham, BG.
Yes, sir.
He could be active for this game. How big is that, Haley? Not just on the field, but in the locker room from a morale standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
The locker room, I think it's awesome. I think it's great. I mean, we all love BG here in Philadelphia. But I don't want him to take away any snaps from anybody if he's not feeling like 100%. And I know that sounds bad, but I mean, at the end of the day, he was injured for quite a period of time. It was very unlikely for him to come off of the IR. So I know this is probably his last game ever in the NFL as an Eagle. So I'm happy for him. I wouldn't play him too much.
I hear you. In the time he's been gone, we've watched Nolan Smith grow.
Cautious optimism.
Yeah, we've watched Jalix Hunt grow.
Yeah,
I'm a huge Jalix Hunt fan, actually.
Me too. High motor.
When we drafted him, I was most excited about him.
Yeah. Hunt's got he's got a motor.
Yes. A lot is being made of the Jalen Hurts, Pat Mahomes matchup, and that's obvious. But for me, it's Nick Sirianni, Andy Reid.
Oh, boy.
And I can't get but listen, I think the Eagles are going to win this game because of the revenge factor, the fact that they're not as good of a team as we saw 2 years ago, and we're a much better team than we were 2 years ago.
World's better.
Right.
We were almost surprised to be there 2 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
So I see, but it's something in me feels like Andy Reid.
I know,
he
man.
doesn't lose to this organization. Except for last year in a regular season game, which that was the first and only time it's happened.
Yeah.
I mean, Andy Reid, how big is it that we have to watch Nick Sirianni again try to beat Andy Reid in an all-or-nothing game with a title on the line? I mean, that's the only thing that gets to me. How does that hit you?
It's weird because I grew up, my whole childhood was Andy Reid, and I have nothing but respect for him. I think that he is one of the best coaches in the NFL. However, it's a talent factor. I think Nick Sirianni's done a much better job of trusting his coordinators. And after that Browns game, we saw Sirianni in that really cringy press conference, but he took responsibility for what he's done with being too involved with, Kellen Moore in the offense. And I think once Sirianni kind of took a step back, that's when the Eagles began to be explosive. So I think that Sirianni needs to take the same approach that he has been for the rest of the season and not think too deeply about it. And I know that it's the Super Bowl, and for us, it's a huge deal. But the one thing that I notice about teams in the Super Bowl, and I've always watched every single Super Bowl year after year, is that sometimes they overthink things that are simple. You know the talent that you have. You trust your coordinators. Vic Fangio is a pro. He was actually the first one to leave the field after the NFC Championship, getting right to work. And so was, I think, Huff. But I think that you have to just kind of keep all of the nonsense out of your head in a sense. If you're Nick Sirianni, and just focus on getting the job done. I'm a big WWE person. And I've made tweets about this, how it's like Cody Rhodes, finish the story against Roman Reigns. And I think that there is a spark to Philadelphia when it is them being an underdog. I do. And right now, Vegas has the Eagles as the underdog. I think Andy Reid is a better head coach. Sirianni has the better coordinators. And I love Spags, and I'm not trying to disrespect him in any type of way. But I do trust Vic Fangio a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
I mean, they're just so technically sound. They play a very form-proof type of game, really.
Yeah. And you know what else I trust, Haley? I trust that the Eagles play well when you're wearing your lucky Jordan Davis jersey. Will you have it on for this big all-or-nothing game?
Absolutely. The number one question that I've been getting asked on Twitter is, are you wearing your Jordan Davis jersey to the Super Bowl? I have to remind people that the Super Bowl is like $6,000, so I will not be out of
Right.
But I will be wearing it. I do have one big concern, though, about this game. And I talked about this on the radio a couple weeks ago. It's Jake Elliott.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
He could cost the Eagles the game.
Absolutely. I try to forget about Jake Elliott right now.
I try to forget about him, too. I have a jersey of him as well, and I haven't been able to wear it since he's been having the season that he's had.
Right.
Yeah, it's such a conundrum because on one hand, the guy has kicked you to a Super Bowl. When you think back to that Super Bowl winning season of 2017, he kicks a 61-yarder to beat the Giants when they were 1-1 at that point, and then they went on a tear. And he doesn't miss a kick in the whole postseason. His first missed kick or first missed field goal was just last week. But on the other hand, do you trust him if you're at the 29, 30-yard line, and you got to send him out there for a crucial 47, 48-yarder. If you don't get it, you're giving Pat Mahomes the ball near midfield in the biggest game of your life. I think that Nick is going to potentially, because of the magnitude of this game, I think you're going to see him maybe consider going for a 4th and 6.
And that's the issue.
Right.
And that's actually my biggest concern is, let's just say theoretically, yes, it is 4th and 6. And they're at, the 40-yard line.
Right.
If they don't convert, you're giving Patrick Mahomes the ball at the it just makes me very uncomfortable. So I'm hoping that Jake Elliott, gets his act together. But at the same time, I feel like you're going to be seeing a much more offensively aggressive Eagles team, which is why the run game is so important.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in that kind of situation, you're going to have to throw the ball if you're, 4th and 6, obviously. But that makes me nervous. And that's my biggest concern. That kind of keeps me up at night.
Yeah, I hear you. So the big remedy for that is Saquon Barkley busting 60-plus yard touchdown runs. I saw a breakdown that in the history of the league, he has 7 this year, including the postseason. That's 3 more than anybody's ever had in one season. Jim Brown was on that list. I mean,
I saw that list. Yeah.
Just an all-time great season.
Unbelievable
If
list.
the Birds come out and this game looks like most of their games have this year, where they win by 6 to 10 points, and it feels like all the other games they played, this could go down as one of the greatest single seasons in NFL history when considering who they're beating for the ring and preventing.
100%. And I think that for Saquon Barkley to be with the Giants and not find any success with them except one time in the playoffs, which is a loss against Philadelphia.
Right.
I think that, they played in the wild card, so a couple playoff games. But I think that this for him is like everything. Everyone was all upset about him not getting the single season record for most rushing yards. He didn't care about that. What he cares about is getting a ring, and that's every NFL player's dream. And for Jalen Hurts, he still has on his phone the picture of him walking away with the Chiefs confetti when they lost. Like, this team is so motivated. And I think you're going to see just an explosive Eagles team. And maybe I'm being a little bit bold with my prediction. I don't have a score yet, but I do think there is a possibility that it could be a blowout.
I was thinking the same thing today, Haley. It crossed my mind, and you almost want to temper your expectations because it's almost like megalomania, But at the same time, when you look at this game and you look at all the things you just mentioned with the motivation and the fact that, speaking to the record, Saquon Barkley 31 yards from breaking Terrell Davis's record of most yards ever in a regular and postseason combined. So he has a chance to hit 2,500 yards on the ground for the first time in the history of the NFL, and I think he gets it.
Oh, yeah.
And that record is more valuable, in my opinion,
I think so.
than any regular season one if you hoist the trophy. So we're excited. I'm going to give you a score, and I'm very comfortable with this score. I've thought about it a lot. It's in between blowout and close game. I'm going 36-27 Birds.
Wow.
I like that.
What about you, Tek?
I actually like a score like that. I feel like it has to be 2 possessions so that you don't have to go against the refs. You don't want to. It's got to be 2 possessions. I'm thinking something like 34-27. I'll do that. Even it's not a possession game.
Yeah.
But it's a touchdown game.
And I won't ask you to give your score, Haley. I already know it's going to be like 49-23, probably.
Well, it's funny. Last week against the Commanders, I put out a tweet prior to the game, and I said the Eagles' defense isn't letting up more than 23 points.
Beautiful.
So it ended up working out.
Perfect.
Yeah,
I think this game is going to make me sick to my stomach. I am suspecting it to be an Eagles win, 33-26. It's going to be close.
Okay, all right. Well, look, the good thing about us giving scores that are like 7 to 9 points apart is a blowout would make us feel even more good about
unbelievable.
Our prediction.
It would be unbelievable.
Absolutely. So
I can't have this team being up 10 points at halftime again, and then I need a good second half.
Yeah, that was so eerie. And then the odd halftime show.
I'd rather just be up 3 at the half at this game.
It was bad. But I like Kendrick Lamar, so I'm hoping for good things.
Yeah, it's in his DNA. It's in his DNA.
When was the last time? Rihanna?
Yeah, and it was really odd. There was all kinds of really dark symbolism.
Well, Kendrick's going to be, this is going to be better.
I think so. I think so.
This will be better.
Yeah.
So shifting to the other team on the color spectrum, from green to orange, the Fly Guys are only 3 points out of an Eastern Conference playoff spot. What's your take on the pulse of the team right now?
Yeah, this team, it's an odd team, I have to be honest with you.
It is.
They have these really good hot streaks, and then they have these really bad losses, like last night they had a 5-0 loss to the Devils.
Yeah.
Embarrassment. Yes.
I don't think this team is making the playoffs. And I've said that all season. They're going to finish as a middle-tier team. And that's not good. When you think about the draft, they have a lot of good prospects within the top 8 this year. The Flyers are going to miss out on the opportunity to have a really good prospect. And I just don't think that this team has enough talent. I think the cap space situation's bad. So this trade deadline, they should be sellers rather than buyers. But again, I've seen this one before, and they're going to end up probably buying or, making a trade in a sense. But
who would you sell? Who would you sell, Haley?
Yeah, good question.
Who would I sell? I would probably sell like a Scott Laughton, a Sean Couturier, Morgan Frost. I think you get value from him. Even Joel Farabee.
Yeah, I was going to say Farabee. Yep.
Yeah, they should sell those guys, and obviously they need a goalie.
Yes, I think that's their number one problem. Gold, they just it's not. They don't have a premium.
You're not an Erson guy.
He's okay.
Yeah,
he looks good for stretches.
He's like a backup or a backup. He's not meant for this. But you know why they couldn't get a good goalie? It's because they didn't have enough money this offseason to get anybody, which is why you only saw Matvey Michkov being added to the lineup. So I'm not surprised in a sense that they're in this situation, but people that think that this team should make the playoffs need to really evaluate what that means for this organization. And making the playoffs would mean missing out on a draft pick. It would probably mean you wouldn't be selling as much at the deadline. It's not worth the risk to get eliminated in the first round, because that's the other thing. If you go to the playoffs, you're going to get eliminated in the first round, and you're basically done. Like you did it for nothing.
Right. That's one take. I'm a big believer in the intangible experience factor, though, too. You know, just having that experience for some of these guys, you never know what that could do.
They need that draft pick.
I get that. Listen, I've been covering this team for 4 seasons. I have yet to cover them in the playoffs. I think it would be awesome and a lot of fun. So maybe I'm the jinx and I'm the problem, and I'm fine with that. But, I think for us journalists, too, it would kind of motivate us. I mean, I'm so jealous of all the Eagles journalists, the Phillies journalists, not the Sixers journalists. I'm cool with not being one of them, but no shade on that. But
they're. I mean, it's like it's fool's gold. Anybody getting excited right now, it's fool's gold.
Yeah,
and beats out again tomorrow. Like I'm just done with the season.
I'm boycotting this team until Josh Harris sells the team. I am boycotting this team.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. So the last time we had you on, Michkov hadn't even really committed to coming over from Russia.
Yeah.
And we were. You said it. You said I think it's happening.
Yeah.
Just give me a grade.
And it happened like days after.
It did. Yeah, very quick.
Really short after too.
Yes.
Yeah.
How would you grade his season so far?
I would give him a B-.
Yep.
And I know that sounds low, and it's not. The reason why
it's
is
not. It's perfect.
Thank you, because people expected him to be like the savior of the Flyers, and he can't do that. One player can't do that. I think he's playing fine. Yes, he has very limited ice time, and that's been something that Tortorella's been vocal about. Listen, if you're not playing to my standard, I'm not going to reward you with ice time. But he's fine. He's doing a great job this rookie season, one of the better rookies in the NHL. But he's not like this Wayne Gretzky or Sidney Crosby, and that's okay. But I feel like people have that expectation of him, and they're disappointed when there's no reason to be disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's very fair.
He's a young player, and it's going to take some development. So we appreciate you coming on to talk Birds and talk
Thank
Flyers.
you.
Hopefully, the next time we get on the line with you,
we'll be champs.
We're talking about the second parade that we had and what we did for the parade. And at that point, the Eagles will cement themselves as one of the premier teams this century, which is just...
If that happens, I would love to come back on and talk about the Super Bowl, because I'm telling you, this is the season. I sound like a Cowboys fan, but this is the season. It is the season.
I think it is too. And you know what? I'll leave you with this. The Eagles have never lost a Super Bowl where Carson Wentz was on the bench.
Yes.
Never happened.
It's so symbolic. Everything heading into the Super Bowl is so symbolic.
Absolutely. So we're hoping for what we're talking about here, another parade on Broad Street. Until then, take care, enjoy the Flyers, and we'll catch up with you real soon. Thanks for joining us.
All right, thanks, guys. I'll talk to you later.
That's Haley Taylor Simon. And look, it's a big game. And we have a long, we're like centimeter crawling to the game.
Time goes slower when you're waiting on such a big event.
I thought the week went by extra slow last week to the NFC Championship game. So having this extra week off, and look, we were just talking about, Andy Reid, and the only thing that, I'm not going to use the word scares, because I think Haley made a point of bringing up the talent factor, and that does go in our favor with the exception of the quarterback and the tight end.
Yeah.
But look, Andy Reid off of a bye week, giving him 10 days or so to prepare.
He's been very good.
Dangerous.
It is dangerous. It is dangerous. But I think it's true. I'll just echo what we've been talking about. We are just a better football team from top to bottom. And I think the motivation level, and when you get to this point, the better team is going to show it in a game like this. Think about the focus that Saquon's going to have pre-snap as he gets ready to take a handoff.
Yeah.
And this line, yes, the Chiefs' D-line is probably their strength, besides quarterback. But it doesn't matter. When you have a guy like that.
They do have a shutdown corner in McDuffie.
McDuffie's good, but I'll tell you what, A.J. Brown not as much of a shutdown corner when you got A.J. Brown in front of him.
I hear you. Or Devontae, to be honest.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
catch Devontae made, the toe tapper.
I know, man.
That unbelievable picture. I know you've seen that picture.
Yeah.
Where they say to everybody who thinks that wasn't
He
a
was
catch.
in, yeah. He was there. It was green. It was green on the right side of his foot, and they didn't show that angle.
He was an inch. But
on
hey,
TV, they didn't show that angle on TV.
No, it looked very questionable.
Yeah, but that angle was on point.
It looked so questionable that the Eagles did a hurry-up offense there.
And most teams do hurry up at that
I know,
point. But
they didn't want that challenge flag.
A good thing for Commanders fans is, hey, at least they'll get to watch their guys in the Pro Bowl games.
You notice how their narrative switched? Their narrative went from, our rookie quarterback is going to make history to, y'all beat a rookie. Y'all beat a rookie.
Yeah, it's always gonna be what best suits the loser in that scenario.
Yeah, I mean, wow.
It's really, and it's so sad what I see online, whether it's on our X account or my Threads account. I get a lot of interaction on my Threads account. I always post bird stuff.
Okay.
And I get people popping out the woodwork this week. It's funny how when you win a conference and now you're going to the Super Bowl, which only 2 teams do.
Yeah.
And that, for some reason, spurns more negativity than if they would have lost to the Commanders.
Right.
It's very odd and ironic. It's like the losers come out to try to, people that aren't even fans of the Commanders, or the Rams, or the Packers, they just want to talk
only one
bad.
if y'all had Saquon.
It's like they're projecting, and they're damaged people, and it's their way to self-medicate.
Yeah.
In a sense, it's really sad to see and hear.
Yeah,
dial 988, guys.
Yeah, it's like, we only have daylight because of the sun. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right. Well, if they take Saquon off the team, sure, we're probably a 9-win team, 10-win team. But,
I can't stand
Saquon
that.
is on this team.
I know.
He is a part of the situation.
Exactly. It takes teams to win football games. Great teams throughout history have been loaded. Look at the old Niners team.
Yes.
The Cowboys team.
Of course.
That's actually the best comparison is Aikman.
We was so loaded on both sides of the ball.
I know,
so
man.
was Montana. And Jim Kelly didn't even win, and he was loaded.
They were
Hall
loaded.
of Famers,
All these
all
teams
up and down.
are loaded.
I know.
Even the Redskins teams that won rings in the 80s.
Right.
These teams, that's how you win a
Jalen
chip.
is not Troy Aikman or Joe Montana or even Jim Kelly as a quarterback. But what he is what we've been talking about. He is a guy who comes up clutch when he needs to, and he knows how to get the W. That's what we need. That's what needs to happen. And guess what? The Super Bowl, listen, he fumbled away the game early. But in all fairness, he came back after that, and he was playing to win, even though we lost. He was playing tremendous. So, let him learn from this. He said the same thing before the year, but the other day, some reporter asked him, what makes you ready for this game? And he said, losing.
Right.
Losing makes me ready for this.
Yeah.
Because I know now what it's like to lose.
Yeah, I think the focus is going to be too much to overcome for the Chiefs. And they have the aura, and they have that weird, unspoken dynamic. But at this level, at this point, that is not enough.
I don't believe it is either.
It's just not enough. We're a significantly better team, and if they play clean, they win Super Bowl 59, Tech.
I also believe that. I do believe that the Eagles will win this, and part of what really is fueling my belief, well, there's multiple things. I mean, obviously, there's the talent factor. The fact that they had a good team 2 years ago, and I don't feel like it's as good. I feel like, Kelsey isn't as good this year as he was that year. He was having a great year.
Yeah.
And, maybe they have a better defensive line this year, but I don't know if their overall team was better 2 years ago.
Well, they were better last year.
I think it was a little worse.
They were a better team last year.
So,
and we beat them with a inferior defense at Arrowhead.
Yes, and the Eagles, they're just on another look. They're on another level than they were 2 years ago.
It's a different tier,
especially defensively. And then you throw Saquon in the mix.
Yeah, they're almost unbeatable, and that's what some Super Bowl teams throughout history have been unbeatable at this point. I think Haley could be right. I'm not going to say it's going to be a blowout, but I could see how maybe Mahomes just doesn't have really anywhere to go with the ball early. There's not going to be much run room, although Kareem Hunt is an X factor. Because Kareem Hunt was running angry.
He's okay.
He was running angry against the Bills. The Bills' defense is nothing like the Birds' defense. But I could see a scenario where, the Chiefs don't really move the ball much.
We're better at stopping the run and have a better defense overall than Buffalo.
Yeah, I feel like Jaden Daniels was a great preparation.
It was, and I've been saying that really since after that game.
Yeah, it's a great preparation
to
play Mahomes.
If you come out and you're Vic Fangio, you come out with that same game plan that you did attacking Jaden Daniels, that's the way to attack Pat Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean, hey, look, make them go. If they go 18 plays and get 3 points, all right, so be it. If they hold this Chiefs team to field goals, which really they've been kicking field goals all season, the Chiefs. I mean, they beat the Raiders 19-17. They beat, I think it was the
Carolina Panthers
by an overtime field goal.
Yeah.
You know, so they're not dominant at all this year.
But they know when it comes to the big game, all that's out the window.
I know. And look, could the Birds lose? I guess sure. In some universe, they could. I can't see it happening this year.
My number one reason for why I think the Eagles win, I'm being bold and saying Eagles are winning the Super Bowl.
Yes, sir.
Is because of the revenge factor.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni especially, like they're
not going to drop this game.
They still see that game.
I know. And this changes
like
history.
You can't, like they have all the cliches. Oh, we put it in the rear view. We flushed it. No, you didn't.
This is a historical win for them. If they win, this is historical.
I believe so. CJGJ also played a terrible game in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. That will not repeat itself.
He's matured a lot,
He
man.
will play
He's really
a good
He's
game.
matured a lot as a guy.
And you got the exciting whites.
They're very exciting whites. Absolutely. Very exciting.
The ones that LeBron ignored the other night.
Yeah, right. You know what, though? That's fine. LeBron is his day is over.
Yeah, his day's over. So next week we will get into the matchups.
Yeah.
More
do some more breakdowns.
Do more of a breakdown of the game because it's like too fresh to really. I can't even think about that. I'm just thinking about we're gonna win, revenge. We have a better team, and a little bit of that has to settle down over the next week before the next show, so that we can really get into more X and O's and really figure out what we're up against. But
9 more sleeps, Tek.
Yeah, that's where we're at with it. All right, we will see you next week.
Vet Alumni.